Hello everyone, I'm Rehana Begg, Editor-in-Chief of Machine Design. I'm joined today by Jake Gelinas, a sales engineer for Parvelax by Maxon, which has a focus on manufacturing fractional horsepower geared electric motors. Jake's responsibility includes growing the Parvelax brand in the United States, and this is following Maxon's acquisition of Parvelax in 2018. Jake and I are teeing up our upcoming webinar, Speaking Robotics and Automation, Insights and Risks Through the Lens of Mechanical Design Professionals. Now, Jake has a background in mechanical engineering and has experience in research and development, system design, as well as gear motor selection. And Maxon is one of our 4 sponsors on that webinar. So Jake, engineers like yourself and our participants from Harmonic Drive, Emerson, and HP understand the ins and outs of miniaturization, motion control, advanced automation, material selection, and human-robot interaction, and you embrace the challenges and capitalize on opportunities that ultimately shape the future of the industry. So welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Let's just step right into our conversation. I'm very curious to see from your perspective, at a high level, where is automation headed? Where's robotics headed? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Bring me into your world. And as you look at from a high level, what's happening around you?
I think automation is sort of headed in the direction of really eliminating whatever manual processes or manual type jobs that could be high risk or could be basically sped up or made more efficient in some way. So anything from warehouse automation, robotization of manual installation processes or cleaning processes type of applications, any sort of field work or things like that. If you can sort of make that more of an automated process and get robotics involved, that's kind of where we're seeing things. We're seeing a lot of activity in the motorization of different processes.
Oh, very well. Okay, so let's go more specifically to your world and more localized. Where are the most transformative trends that are set to reshape the manufacturing operations opportunities, and certainly from that motor perspective?
Of course, e-commerce has been massive in the last few years, especially after COVID. So, warehouse automation has been big. Anything from transporting goods within a warehouse, labeling, packaging, anything within a warehouse is, of course, a very big trend for us. Another thing that some of our customers have been seeing is, for larger scale trends like electric vehicles or really anything involving battery manufacturing. There's a lot of automation taking place in that area, just from the manufacturing of batteries in general. So, from that perspective, most people think of, electric vehicles, but there's batteries in just about anything nowadays, and especially motorized applications. So whether you're talking, field robotics or, even regular vehicles, your cell phone, everything has a battery in it nowadays. So, large scale manufacturing for things like batteries. We've seen, what used to be manual processes for installing or cleaning solar panels. Those processes, there's a lot of companies working on automating and creating robots to service that industry. So whether that be, installing solar panels using a robot or cleaning solar panels using a robot, it's all kind of heading in that direction.
Yeah, Jake, I wonder if you can go to more specifically on the design trends. Can you share a particular application or a use case that helps me understand even more at the component level how you're highlighting or how Maxon is taking steps to prioritize high value projects or should I say solutions?
So we're seeing a lot of trends go from, let's say, a hydraulic motor application to an electric motor application. So a few examples, one is actually in the agricultural industry. We've had some inquiries regarding, like let's say a seed planter application where they used to drive everything using a hydraulic motor that was really kind of controlled by the speed of the engine itself. So the engine turns a hydraulic pump, which then turns the seeder. You can get a lot more precise control using an electric motor. And, typically for those types of applications, it's not a very high horsepower requirement. So instead, if you use an electric motor, you get benefits like better control, can be more efficient, and a lot of times less expensive. Same thing with there's a company we're working with that does sort of truck ramp applications, and they've historically used hydraulic, basically electric motors running a hydraulic pump. Now they're trying to go with a fully electric system and eliminate the hydraulics, eliminate the mess and potential, risk of leaking fluid, that kind of thing. So we try to offer more of the customization involved. So from a component standpoint, a lot of these customers are working in tight spaces or in kind of harsh environments, and they need a specific design implemented for their requirements. So, we can work with their design constraints, design maybe a gearbox or some type of housing for the motor where it's not exactly a standard off-the-shelf product. So the more engineering involved, typically the more customization.
Well, thank you. That's a really great some great insights and giving us a sense of how you operate, how you work, and certainly how you can bring custom solutions to your clients. Finally, give me your final thought. Wrap things up for us. Where do we go from here?
It's kind of a $1 million question, right? But I think, like I said, I mean, you're going to see more and more manual processes eliminated, becoming more efficient in areas like manufacturing, especially with kind of uncertainties regarding trade and everything now, especially if we want to try to actually bring more manufacturing jobs into the US specifically, to be competitive price wise, you kind of have to automate everything or as much as you can. So there's a lot of opportunity within, traditional manufacturing facilities to automate processes and make them more efficient. I think you're going to see a big push towards that. You're already seeing it, but I think you're going to see more of a push towards industrial manufacturing being automated, not just so much on the delivery of goods like e-commerce, but the actual, production, things like robotic welding. We've seen a big increase in interest in robotic welding in the last couple of years, and processes like that where, typically it's pretty expensive labor, and, can be risky as well. Anything like that is an opportunity to capitalize on in robotics and automation.